Vibrational Medicine is a podcast to bring awareness to the various natural wellness practices and treatments available. I am your host, Ash Neumeister, and these conversations are born out of my curiosity to learn more about the technologies available to us to stay in our optimal, vital, healthy, and natural state for our entire life, regardless of aging and all of the challenges of living in our modern day world. We will discuss topics covering how to stay healthy in mind, body, and spirit. Let's take a moment for one deep breath and then enjoy the conversation.
When I started learning herbal medicine and detoxification, that's when it all was like, yo, there is nothing that the body cannot heal by itself. Nothing.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Vibrational Medicine with Ash. And on today's podcast, I am super excited to sit down and chat with Sheela. She's a dear friend of mine, and I've learned so much from her when it comes to using food as medicine. She has a company called Food Over Drugs, and she really believes that we can heal anything through the use of food, and that could be either taking away foods or adding foods, and also with herbs. So we touch on why that is and a little bit about her background. We even talk about supplementation and how maybe some people might actually be over supplementing. We also talk about what happens to your gut when you eat dairy, which is pretty shocking. There is so much great information in this episode. I hope that you get a lot of value out of it. And if you do, please share it with your friends and family and help us spread the good word. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vibrational Medicine with Ash. And today I am super excited to be having this time to chat with Sheela, who is a dear friend of mine. And we met through some women's work and then just became fast friends. And I have gotten to participate in her detox that she does, as well as her detox teas, and just got to really learn a lot about food and herbs through Sheila's teachings. So I'm super excited for this conversation today, and just wanted to welcome you on first, Sheela.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I did do my 21-day detox and experienced my whole body detox tea. That was one of my first products, actually. So I'm glad that. Yeah.
I just got some a couple days ago. I've been drinking it. I love it.
Still one of my favorites.
Me too. Yeah, I'd love to start by just having you share a little bit about yourself and maybe what led you into this path of sharing herbs, the medicine of food and herbs. And I know you were a nutritionist too, so if you want to speak to that as well, feel free.
Yeah. Well, I started getting into nutrition actually in high school. I had all these like medical conditions with like hormones are out of balance. I say that I might have PCOS. I have elevated blood sugar levels, borderline pre-diabetic. And when I was put on medication, that was like the turning point where I was like, I actually don't want to take medication. It just doesn't feel right. And I was able to reverse my symptoms and my condition through food. And that was like when the light bulb clicked and I was like, I want to keep going. And so I started to study nutrition in college, and I got my bachelor's in nutritional science. But as I was in college, I kept feeling like I was hitting a wall because dietitians can't necessarily heal people. We just follow diets, and we're whatever circumstance that the patient has or whatever condition that they have, we just give them whatever diet we're supposed to give them based off of our calculations or whatever. And so I fell into herbal medicine because there was a program at my school that offered classes on herbal medicine. I found it fascinating because that's when it was like, when I started learning about how turmeric can block the plaques from forming these proteins in the area of our brain that causes Alzheimer's. I was like, yo, this is what we get to know. Like, these are the types of things that we get to learn. So I started learning herbal medicine, and then got into herbs, and then that just led me into detoxification, which is what I went on to study afterwards. And so when I started studying detoxification, that's when it all came for full circle of like, this is how we heal. Like, we heal the body through either the elimination of certain foods or the addition of certain fruits, vegetables, and herbs. And so now it's like, I see the body like completely different. And so that's it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I love that. You were the first one that really got me thinking about, well, the name of your company, you know, Food Over Drugs, thinking about the fact that you really can heal everything through what you're talking about, detoxification or the addition of certain things.
Yeah.
And I mean, in a way that's kind of radical to say, you know, it's because we're so used to having to take medications, or, you know, prescriptions are so common. So do you want to speak a little bit more about that and like what led you to believe that?
Yeah, it started when I was younger, being put on the medication and deciding not to take it. But then it was like, it kept happening throughout my life. Like I would get like sick, or I used to get chronic urinary tract infections, and I would always try and figure out a way to cure it without getting on any kind of antibiotic or anything like that. And so like at the beginning, I thought it was like, okay, I don't take Tylenol or Advil, but you know, emergency cases, I'm sure. And I was still, I didn't find that balance. But then when I started learning herbal medicine and detoxification, that's when it all was like, yo, there is nothing that the body cannot heal by itself. Nothing. You think about it in this sense, like our bodies created every single cell in our bodies. We are still alive. And as we are still alive, our bodies are still creating new cells. So how is it that if our bodies are still creating new cells and we are still alive, that we cannot send it into a different place? We cannot heal from something that's going on. We're not, the human nature, we're not made to be broken. You know, we're not like people out in the world. It's just, what are we not doing? What are we not giving ourselves that's creating that optimization that we're seeking, that our bodies are really trying to create this whole time? That's the biggest thing, because if we think about even the way that we heal, like even through illness, even through like just simple thing, like when we get sick, for instance, and our appetite is suppressed and our temperature rises, we get a fever, all of these things is our body having our back. Always our body suppresses our appetite because it's trying to tell us, don't put anything else in, I'm working on getting something out. Meanwhile, it raises our temperature because it's trying to kill off anything that cannot survive in that level of temperature. So if we think about those two simple things, then we can trust that our body is constantly trying to course correct everything that we have going on. My dog, give me one.
No worries.
Get out of my room. There you go. And I'm back.
It's all good. Yeah, that's so true. I actually was sick recently and I had a fever for one night, and one of my friends reminded me of that exact thing. Like, well, your body's doing what it needs to do, to just trust your body and allow that to happen. And it's so natural. You're exactly right that our body knows what to do as long as it's functioning properly.
Yeah.
You know, which, you know, it seems like, well, it's a fact that there's a lot more toxins and things in our environment, and, you know, all of the different issues that our body has to acclimate or adjust, or it's maybe a little bit harder to get into our natural state where we can heal things, you know, on their own. But if people learn you know, like what you're saying, using different herbs and foods to put their body in its optimal natural state, it can stay healthy and heal whatever it comes into contact with.
Yeah. And it's like little by little, like one step at a time, you know, and that's why it's like the journey of it, you know, because we can't
Mm-hmm.
go from like our day-to-day life to like, boom, our pancreas is now working and now we don't have diabetes anymore. Like
Right.
it's a progressive thing. And, you know, with anything in our bodies, like, you know, we think about even how like certain vitamins, they say like certain things take like 30 days to kick in. Like same thing. You introduce something new, it'll take time
Mm-hmm.
to kick in. Or if you eliminate something, it'll take time to kick in. You know, some people, when they shift into like a plant-based diet, for instance, some people feel it immediately. Some people don't until like a couple months later. And they're like, yo, I never noticed. Actually, don't have that back pain anymore. Or, you know, I used to have this kind of inflammation. My skin used to get red all the time and I don't experience that anymore. Like, little things. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, it's a journey, but yeah, our bodies can absolutely heal from anything. Absolutely
Mm-hmm.
anything, as long as we're giving it exactly, as long as we're giving it what it wants, you know.
Right. Exactly.
And it's yeah.
Cool. Yeah. One of the main reasons that I wanted to reach out to you, well, a couple, but why don't we start with people that are starting to become more aware of the fact that what you put in your body really does have an impact on your overall well-being. And maybe they don't eat the healthiest. You know, they're curious though, like where do they start? Like, do they do a detox first, or should they just start introducing different foods? Like, how do you even get started on this path of really wanting to see food as medicine and start being more aware of what you're putting in your body? What would you recommend?
So it depends what the person wants, and there are both ways. I've seen people go from completely regular diets. They're like the adventurous who are like, I'm ready to do a cleanse, and like, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll jump in to do a cleanse, and that will be that moment where it clicks and they finally feel in their bodies like and it's not instantaneous, but it's within like 3 days they immediately feel a completely different sensation in their bodies, down to like their taste buds are different, down to their mental clarity is different, their mood is different, their digestion's different, and they cannot deny the power of food that and its effects on the body. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a way that you can jump into detoxification, and that could be like the springboard into like the rest of your life's journey, because I guarantee you this is what happens with every single person who does one of my cleanses. When they finish the cleanse, their life, their lifestyle in terms of what they consume is never the same. I guarantee
Mm-hmm.
you. And I notice it with every single person, because you can't unknow what you just felt. You can't forget that you felt that amazingly, you know?
Yeah.
So there's that. And then at the same time, like, you know, for those that are like, I'm not looking to jump right into, you know, detoxification, but how can I make these little tweaks? It's like, I've always said it, start with like one thing. Like for some people, it's like they love Diet Coke, or they love, you know, sodas, or they love, um, they even love vaping. I mean, you give it like anything, like going on to like a different, you know, a whole other, you know, broad spectrum of health, you know, concerns.
Yeah.
But just choosing one thing to focus on for like 1 week, and you feel that feeling, once you feel it, it will naturally propel you to make another change. So one thing that I always say to start with is dairy. So
Mm.
one is that it's like, it's probably one of the hardest, to be honest, because everybody loves cheese, loves yogurt, as am I,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes. Me
Um,
too.
but like the effects that dairy has in the body, um, and what you feel when you eliminate it,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, it's undeniable. It's undeniable,
Yeah.
you know?
And don't be afraid to like get into the grossness of what that does to your body. Cause I remember when you explained it at one of your workshops, I was like, that actually gave me more motivation to like, okay, I'm really going to cut this out. I basically cut it out anyways. I do occasionally have like yogurt and cheese, but that's about it anymore these days. But when I learned more about like the mucus and like what you were talking about, I was like, oh God, like I really do need to get serious about this.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's the number one silent killer. The
Mm.
number one, because research, I'm going to call it research, because some of these people like Professor Arnold Ehret and Johanna Brandt and Dr. Robert Morse and even Dr. Sebi, people who study detoxification and cleansing on like a cellular level, dairy produces the most amount of mucus in the body. It actually doesn't belong. I'll get to that in a second, but it doesn't belong in the body, but it produces all this mucus. Now, most people think that mucus just is like in our sinuses or in our lungs, and that's all where mucus lives, and that's all we experience. But really, that mucus is actually everywhere. It's on our scalp. It's in our eyes. It's in our toes. It is everywhere. And in our intestines, that mucus, this is what I explained in the workshop, it builds. Okay. So think about think of literally like your snot, your boogers, actually like the thickness of it,
Mm-hmm.
creating layers in your intestinal lining. And over years and years and years, food just passes over it. It doesn't actually take it off. So it gets harder and black and forms something called mucoid plaque. And mucoid plaque looks like black, and it's stuck to the inner lining of your intestines. And most people who consume dairy regularly, or most people generally speaking, have a certain level of mucoid plaque, whether it came from dairy or something else. Generally speaking, we do, unless we're like fruitarians or just
Mm-hmm.
completely different diets. But that mucoid plaque is a breeding ground for everything from like bacteria, parasites, fungal infections, indigestion, a lack of absorption of nutrients, A to Z. And so when we detoxify at a certain point, especially when you're on a raw diet, you finally start to see a black stool. And when you see black come out, that's when you know that your mucoid plaque has been released. But
Mm.
yeah, so dairy is the number one. And I would recommend like all people to try that. Just try it. You don't have to commit to it. Just try it,
Yeah.
and allow the feeling or allow the shift in your body to allow you to navigate through whatever comes after that.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say this though. I mentioned how, okay, so this is how we know mucus is everywhere. Your eye crust in the morning, that's mucus coming out of your eye.
Okay.
Your
Wow. Yeah.
dandruff is mucus coming out of your scalp. So you think
Wow.
mucus is actually coming out in various ways. Whether we think it's there or not, it's coming out. So if you experience those types of things, generally speaking, that's an indication that you have mucus build up in your body. And that,
Wow. Even dandruff. So if people have issues with dandruff, it might be related to that, like eating too much dairy.
mm-hmm, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it could
Interesting.
be dairy, it could be other things that produce mucus in the body, but because
Mm.
dairy is the number one, that's the first thing. That was literally like the biggest shift for me, even because I used to have dandruff, and I used to like freak out and be so embarrassed about it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I eliminated dairy, and I was like, my skin,
Wow.
my hair is much better.
Yeah.
So it shifts a lot. Acne is like the quickest thing people start to notice when they eliminate it. That's why
Mm.
most people say that they get breakouts when they have chocolate. It's not always chocolate. It's also the dairy, and most people
Mm.
actually have it started to distinguish that it's actually the dairy that causes that breakout.
Right.
But yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. One of the things that I really liked about the way that you facilitate the detox too is it makes it easier because it increases over time. It's not like a lot of these cleanses or fads or things that it's like you just like cold turkey, like for 10 days you just only drink juice or whatever it is. The
Mhm.
way that you do detoxes, I think it's well, you can start at different levels depending on how you eat normally. But for people that this is like a new thing, you cut out one thing one week, and then the next week you cut something else out, and it's progressive over the 21 days. And it's, I think, a really good way for people that are interested in getting started to do a detox. Like, take it easy, you know, like, don't feel like you need to shock your system. And it's just as effective, right? To do it that way. You don't have to be hungry all the time or
Yeah, I mean, it's really important that it's sustainable. It's really important that it is, because like you said, it's like there are so many cleanses out there, and sure, they're effective. Jump onto a juice cleanse. It will be effective, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
But can you do it for more than like 2 days? Most people can't. Most people drop off, and or they cheat, and they're eating foods that don't work with it at all. It doesn't support the diet at all. But if you allow someone flexibility going in, or you make it work for them going in, and then you take it up a notch. Because remember I mentioned, like, once you feel good, then you're like, I'm actually willing to do more. I feel good and I feel on fire. I'm ready to take this to the next level. Whether that be for, by the way, working out or your diet. But generally speaking, when we feel good, we're like, I want to do more. So starting off with something that is like, I can do this. It's attainable. I'm going to do this much right now. And then we move on and we take it up to the next level. That's when you start to see results. And then they're like, damn, I never knew I could do this. Like, I feel really good. I feel proud of myself.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit, because I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about one of the main reasons why I reached out to you, which is this issue of gut health and how important that is for our overall health, and how it relates to our mental health as well. And I've been hearing more and just looking into it on my own a little bit more about how much that, like, even hormone wise and all of these things are really affected by our guts. And I'd love for you to share anything that you're feeling called to on that particular topic.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I'm going to start with this, which is it sounds the most basic, but it's so important. When we are retaining waste in our intestines, okay, it immediately affects our mental clarity and our mood. So some people will notice that as they have bowel movements, the moment that they have a bowel movement, their mood changes just slightly. And so if you could notice that as you start to progress and you realize, like, okay, the elimination of food actually clears the mind, actually elevates the mood, then you move into a different place of like, okay, well, I'm gonna incorporate more foods that assist with the elimination process. And when you start to eliminate and eliminate and eliminate, your mind actually opens up. One thing that I talk about even with detoxification, and by the way, this involves both you, when you're detoxing your intestines and your gut, but you're also detoxing the rest of your body. So whatever's happening in your head is also moving, but your intuition skyrockets. So you start to actually, you feel different. You trust yourself differently. You're more grounded. And so I've been involved in doing like colon cleanses for a while. And sometimes even when I'm just simply feeling off, you can look back and date back and be like, well, when was the last time I had a bowel movement? You know, or when was the last time I was able to actually eliminate? And you can actually find a pattern of when you're not feeling grounded and when you're not feeling, you know, yourself, and a relation to something like constipation or your diet, and when you're not eating well. So that's like, it's the simplest thing, you know, and it's for some people, they'll choose to do different herbs. And if you ever want herbs, by the way, I got you for herbs. Did that in yourself. But yeah, like literally, like what is in your gut 100% relates to how you feel. Going for even just elimination or just detoxification. But also one thing, like that that I noticed is like, even with fasting, when we don't put food in our system for even like, it doesn't have to be consecutive days at a time, but if we were to even involve like intermittent fasting, and we have less food here, um, we start to notice, and it's interesting because I'm going to explain this, but I'll say afterwards, it's better when you actually experience it. But we start to experience like an elevation of the mind, like
Mm-hmm.
a clarity on a different level, focus on a different level, even peace, just peace with whatever is going on. Chaos can be happening, and you'll find that you're just like, doesn't affect me. I'm okay. So those are like the major things. So for me, like when I notice that I'm like feeling off, the first thing I do, I'm like, first of all, what did I eat? When did I go to the bathroom? I should take a break. And then
Mm-hmm.
within literally 12 hours, I can completely shift from my mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so important. It's such an important tool for us, even going through what was happening right now with the pandemic, or just generally speaking, we get to ground ourselves. And if we're ever not feeling grounded, check in and ask yourself, like, what have I been ingesting? And do I get to just take a break for a moment and allow myself just to release and just not put anything else in? And when that happens, we'll start to feel, actually, I feel a little better. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm. Right.
they say that ties into a lot of fasting, and ties into a lot of like elevation, for people
Right.
who practice meditating and things like that too. So it
Mm-hmm.
all makes sense on a scientific level and just on a spiritual level. Eliminating foods to open up.
Yeah, totally. There's also growing research, I think, in this area, which is great. And Dr. Mark Hyman, he does a lot of teaching in this area as well. And the link between brain health and what we eat is a whole other area. And, that he's starting to show that specific things that you can do to reverse dementia and Alzheimer's, or at least,
Yes.
and like, that's unbelievable. Up until this point, people didn't even think that was possible, or at least slow it down.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it
and there's
just,
a ton of herbs. I
mm,
literally, so funny. I just made a custom blend for someone. Like, I have like the leftover. I literally have the leftovers. So funny. And it's for brain health.
mm,
um, but yeah, like turmeric, as I mentioned earlier, like preventing Alzheimer's. Like, it's hard for me to use the word preventing because I want to, but honestly,
right.
it's a tough one, because as a nutritionist or a detoxification specialist or even an herbalist, we're not actually allowed to use that term. But
Mm-hmm.
they're I mean, people are using it, and you look at the studies of even countries that use turmeric in their cooking more often have lower numbers of dementia, generally speaking. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something to look at. But also, like, getting herbs into your system that increase circulation to your brain is super supportive. So
Mm,
um, so the ones that stimulate focus and clarity, are ones like gotu kola or ginkgo biloba, and things like, there's damiana also enhances your mood, or mimosa bark also enhances the mood. There's a lot of lemon balm. I'm just going to start shouting out all of my ingredients in here.
please do.
And holy basil even. So these are all ones that increase the circulation and have been shown to elevate the mood. When your mind is stimulated, it's like we're not stagnated. Stagnation causes this, like, everything from pressure to toxic waste buildup to dementia to, like, our moods being affected and everything. But if we can get everything moving,
Mm-hmm.
then it starts to clear, and we're like, oh, actually I'm stimulated. I feel good. You know what I mean? I'm moving. So
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I had to throw that in when you're talking about, dementia as well.
For sure. Yeah. What are some other herbs that are like your favorites, or anything that you want to speak to as far as maybe generally they're good for most people?
Burdock root is a big one. I love burdock root, and I love the taste of it, to be honest.
I do
Burdock,
too.
yeah. Oh my God. Making like an iced tea out of burdock is bomb, I'll say.
Mm.
But burdock is good for so many things, which I appreciate. Literally, it's good for your liver. It is good for your intestines. So if you have an overgrowth of bacteria or a fungal infection, burdock's awesome for that. It also is good for the skin and rebuilding skin and healing from wounds. And then it also cleanses the blood. So
Mm.
like, oh my God, I'm such a fan of burdock. And there's be more that I just don't know off the top of my head, but those couple of things, it's like I
Mhm.
love to use burdock in my different formulas. Like burdock, for instance, is in it's in my detox tea. It's in my liver and digestive blend. It's like it's in a lot of my blends because I'm a big fan of burdock. But
Awesome. That's one of my favorite things about herbs and essential oils too, or most plant-based things. It's like they have all these positive side effects, you know, like if you're taking it for one thing, you're also going to get the benefit of all these other things too,
yeah.
which is amazing, which is the opposite of, you know, drugs. So,
Literally the opposite because a lot of pharmaceuticals, it's like you'll be kind of healing one thing, but then you'll be like,
mhm.
screwing up a ton of other things.
Exactly.
So it's
Yeah,
literally the opposite. But food over drugs.
exactly. So true.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'd love to, maybe if you have a couple of examples of different things that people have come to you with, you know, asking for support, whether it's through food or herbs, you know, like you mentioned, hormone balancing, or if there's anything, other issues that people might be struggling with
Yeah.
that, you know, herbs could support with. I definitely want to speak about immune system, considering this, you know, the pandemic that's going on, like what people can be doing to support themselves with their immune system too.
Yeah. Yeah. So the biggest things that most clients come to me for are women with hormonal imbalances or menstrual irregularities or anything with the reproductive system. So like that's been like one of the biggest things. And thank God, knock on wood, every time I've worked with somebody, they've had positive results. So whether that be like cysts or there was a woman who could not stop her period. She could not stop her period. She had a period for 3 weeks.
Wow.
I was just talking to her and I was so inspired. I'm like, I have herbs for you. Make them. I'll be right back. And I literally went home the next day, came back. I'm like, just try this. 3 days later, her period stopped. And so
Wow.
now she uses the tea in case she has prolonged periods. Another client of mine, it was the opposite. For 7 years, she could not get her period. So she had to take a
Wow.
pill every single time, every single month, just to get her period. And she hated that because, like me, she was like, I don't believe in medication. I don't want to be taking medication. I hate being stuck to this. And so I was like, okay, let me make you something to get your period. Boom, she's been getting her period now naturally.
Wow.
It's amazing. And then other things like I've been working with two clients. One of them has psoriasis, one of them has eczema. They've been healing. It's been beautiful, beautiful.
Mm.
Like literally A to Z. I find it fun, even if it's something I've never actually worked with. I
Mhm.
love I love talent. I'm like, give it to me. I will figure it out. I will figure it out.
Mhm.
That's the fun of this. It's like there's always a way. And if one thing isn't working, it's like, well, let's try it differently. Okay, let's tweak this around. All right, then we got it. You know what I mean? Like that's the
Mhm.
beauty of like working through even detoxing or also or herbal medicine, but especially herbal
Mhm.
medicine because it's just like it's all like it's science that you almost can't go wrong with.
Right, exactly.
Putting together a salad, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you can't go wrong. If you added too many bell peppers, like it's not gonna kill the person, you
Right.
know. Just find that you find the right blend that just tastes excellent and it just works. It does its job, you know?
Yeah. That's amazing. And you're mainly doing teas and like capsules, or how do you take them?
Yeah, teas and capsules are the ones that I make the most. So either loose leaf or in capsule form.
Mhm.
It depends. Like some people like to sip it and taste it, and I applaud them for that. It's fantastic, and you actually absorb better. Then there's others that are like, I don't drink tea, I don't like the flavor, and I'd rather take a capsule. So
Mhm.
either way works. When you're taking the capsule, you're taking in more, generally speaking, so it makes up for it. And if you're taking the tea, then you have a chance to actually absorb and drink it as it starts to absorb even in your mouth as you're
Right.
drinking it. So yeah.
Awesome. So do you want to speak to immune support and what people can be doing right now with different herbs and foods to really be as healthy as possible?
Yes. Yes.
And there's some herbs that are antiviral as well, right?
Yes, there are. Oh my God. And I just posted about one today. I'll talk about cat's claw in a second. But yeah, so for immune support, going back to dairy, highly recommend eliminating dairy. I also highly recommend eliminating things like coffee and alcohol, just because they're both acidic and they're both stimulants. And right now we need our bodies to come to peace so that it can focus on doing and using its energy wherever it needs to. Super important. Another thing is uptaking our fruits and vegetables and allowing us to listen to our body when we're hungry and when we're not hungry. So if we are hungry, then we eat. If we are not hungry, to listen to that and to not put food in our bodies if we're not feeling hungry. Big.
That's a huge one. So many people just eat out of habit or boredom, especially now if you're just hanging out at home all this extra time.
Exactly. And then it also affects our mental clarity. And because we're packing in all this food, this substance, and we got to eliminate it. So there's that. I also recommend being in the sun. The sun strengthens your immune system, and viruses don't survive in the sun. So getting us exposed to sun is actually beneficial. UV rays also on our skin, it doesn't survive. It actually breaks down protein. So see, even some people, when they say that UV rays are bad for the skin, it's because it does the same thing. It breaks down proteins. So it's not good for our collagen, but at the same time, it's as if we're like baking or we're doing it every day. You know what I mean?
Right.
But sunlight is good for our immune system. Drinking water. Okay. So most people don't drink enough water, including me. But the way that you calculate how much water you need is your body weight, like 50% of your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 120 pounds, 50% of 120 is 60. So you would require 60 ounces of water per day to cleanse your body. So that's a quick trick that I like to use. But so water, sunlight, not eating if you're not hungry, increasing fruits and vegetables, and eliminating things like dairy, coffee, alcohol, and other stimulants, and any kind of medication that you don't necessarily need. Don't put any substance in your body that your body doesn't want, because it's going to focus on trying to eliminate that and not fight off other things. And then I also make an immunity blend. So I have herbs that I actually literally right here. Immunity. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I also make herbs for that too, because there is a ton of herbs. One in particular I talked about today, cat's claw. Okay. I love talking. I'm going to talk about this. I love it. So, okay. I've always known about cat's claw because I use it in a lot of my other formulas as well. I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's anti-inflammatory, antiviral. It's anti-cancer, which is why I like to use it even in my detox blends and things like that. But now here's the thing. So I've always known that it does these things. And the coolest thing about cat's claw, I think I have it here. Oh yeah, it's right here. Okay. Coolest thing about cat's claw is that cat's claw, it kills any abnormal cell in the body. Okay. So think about that. First of all, it will kill cancer cells. Okay. So that's how it works with cancer. It will kill anything that's abnormal. It will also kill a fertilized egg in the body because it's abnormal. Also kills viruses or prevents us from getting sick from viruses, because what a virus does is it attaches onto a cell and then it mutates it. and then that cell goes on and starts destructing other cells. Now, considering it's now a mutated abnormal cell, cat's claw goes in and destroys it. So like cat's claw is a beautiful herb for using it as an antiviral, but the only thing I will say is if you're trying to get pregnant, you don't want to take cat's claw because it will also not allow you to carry a baby, you
Right.
know?
Mm-hmm.
But
Wow. That's powerful.
yeah. So I just put cat's claw on my website. So those of you guys that are listening and are interested in that, there's
Mm-hmm.
that too. Fantastic.
Amazing.
I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And the best is from Peru also. It comes from Peru.
Good to
So,
know. Awesome. And
yeah.
I'll definitely put your links and everything in the show notes so people can find you if they want to get any of your blends, your teas or anything.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I
Yeah.
also want to mention, I know we've talked about cleanses before, but my next cleanse is coming up on April 10th. So
Nice.
April 10th through 19th will be the next 10-day cleanse. And so it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be awesome. And I think right now, a lot of us, like you mentioned, are finally starting to like think about our health in a different sense, you know, not just in simple like hand washing, but really like, what am I ingesting? What do I want to put in my body? And we're starting to look at ourselves in a different light. So I think it's a perfect time. Those people who have been changing up their diets, cooking at home more, noticing a little bit of like, okay, some weight loss, some shifts, some flexibility. They started to work out at home now. Like they're on their new regimen. Detoxification, it's the perfect time.
I agree.
To just go for it. And most people are in quarantine anyway. Like you're fine. You know, you don't need to worry about going out to restaurants and, you know, whatever you're choosing. Even if you did during the time that I'm doing a cleanse, like I always guide those people through what to order and things like that. But it's such a perfect time.
I agree for sure. I mean, that's usually one of my concerns with doing cleanses is I'll feel like a little bit less energy, or, you know, sometimes you'll go through those emotional changes like you mentioned, or headaches even sometimes are a side effect in the beginning.
Yep.
And I don't want to be doing that when I'm like in my busy life of working many hours and running around the city and all of those different excuses that I create.
Yeah.
But now that I'm just sitting at home, I'm like, okay, I'm doing a detox, you know, just like take advantage of this time. And it's going to make me healthier too, which is essential right now, obviously. And I think that's actually a really good idea for people to choose like goals around their health during this quarantine, you know, like something on a physical level. Like me and my friends like picked one thing that we all want to be able to do physically by the end of this quarantine, you know, like something that challenges us. I want to be able to do this certain kind of sit-up thing where I can like raise my legs all the way up over my head and then back down without using my arms at all, like just using my abs. So that's yeah, like things like that, you know, and then I can do a little bit of that every day. It's something to work towards. And getting outside every day too, even if it's just like for a quick walk, is super important. Yes. And then I'm doing this cleanse, and part of it is a detox, like a thing where I'm not eating as much, that, you know, guided thing. And then also, you know, having a spiritual goal too, as well as like doing daily meditation, for example, or something every week, like I'm facilitating breath work every week. So having these like markers and goals that keep you working towards something, even when we're in this quarantine type situation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh my God. And I love your goals. Similar goals. I've been on my workout routine every day, and cooking and eating fruit for breakfast every morning, and just salads for lunch, and just it feels good to like make food, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So health goals, spiritual goals, grounding goals, meditation, like
it's essential.
This is the time. We were blessed with this time. Like
exactly.
now take a break, go home, do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for those of us that are in that situation, we're fortunate enough to be able to do that, like take advantage for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, one other thing that popped into my head as you were talking is I remember when we were doing the the detox, when I did it with you, you spoke a little bit about like supplementation, and that you actually are not like a huge fan of getting your vitamins through supplementation. It's more through food.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. Because the thing with vitamins and minerals, like when we take them from supplements, um, our body's actually supposed to get them from food, as we all know. Although what happens when we start to rely on vitamins or supplements is that that form is what our bodies have to get used to. And so our bodies no longer absorb from fruits and vegetables. But if you were to actually train your body to absorb from fruits and vegetables, then you'll actually be fine in the long run. That's the only difference. Now, one more thing about that is that when we consume, when we take these multivitamins, a lot of the times we don't actually need all the vitamins and minerals. Now, water soluble vitamins, it's harder to overdose because water will flush it away. It'll show up in our urine. It'll be gone. Fat soluble vitamins and minerals specifically are not as easily eliminated. So if we don't need any more of something, and we don't know why, it just sounds really great to take it. Like we're like, I don't know, magnesium's in there. I heard we need magnesium. And then we're just taking it every day. Like it's causing a shift in our bodies, because all of our organs rely on these different, like copper, it has a specific, function in our bodies. Potassium and sodium, potassium specifically, is used for every single heartbeat. Every time your heart beats, it requires potassium. That's why they say like we can't overdose on these types of things. So
Mm-hmm.
one thing is I want to be really mindful of, like, do you need it first? If you need it, then sure. If you don't need it, allow your body to practice taking it from your food. And if there's
Mm-hmm.
an issue there, we get to eliminate, clear out that mucoid plaque that we talked about, and allow yourself to start absorbing these nutrients through food, because that's the best source. That's the bioavailable source, not these synthetic forms that we get in these supplements that, by the way, it's not like we're getting 100% pure vitamin D or 100% pure X, Y, and Z. There's other chemicals and compounds in there to make that supplement. So if we were just to eliminate all that and just get them from food, we're getting it in its best form. So
Mm.
that's why I believe in
And
getting it
how would you know which ones you need? Is that like blood tests? Like,
blood tests. Yeah.
okay.
Or I mean, there's simple things. Like if you like look at your tongue sometimes and you see like your tongue is swollen, and you know that your tongue is swollen when you see ridges on the side of it. Like I'm trying to see if mine,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, mine's not like that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
good. But like if you look at your tongue and it starts to look like teeth marks on the side, like here,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
that means that typically it's a B vitamin deficiency. So if you just
Mm.
take a B complex, then you'll start to see that goes away. So those are like little signs, and then there's also like other ones too. But
Yeah.
there's tricks to seeing them.
Right.
Sometimes unless it's a blood test, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, because I definitely take a multivitamin, and right now I've been taking extra vitamin C. I think those are the only supplements that I take. My multivitamin is like a whole food source, though. It's not like synthetic or anything.
Oh, that's good.
It's
Yeah,
from
when they're like
food.
come from dehydrated food sources, a lot of supplements are like that too. Then
Hmm.
those are good. Those are
Okay,
good.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Awesome.
Anything else that you wanted to share on anything coming up for you or?
I am considering. I don't know. I haven't a date yet, but maybe if by the time this is out, I might have a date. I'm gonna put up a webinar soon for detoxification, so that people can learn about detoxification from their own homes as we're practicing social distancing. But
Mm, a great idea.
and then yeah, reach out to me if you're interested in a cleanse. As I mentioned, it's April 10th through 19th is going to be the next one. And for any other herbal products, like I got you. It's, as you know, it's my mission.
Mm-hmm.
Figure that out.
Yes, I love that. Cool. Well, I always end these episodes by asking the guests what are some of their practices that they're like go-to practices to like shift their mood or raise their vibration, however you want to say it. What brings you that quick shift?
Okay. Quick shift is between two things. Either, depending on how severe, going outside and being in the sunlight is like my medicine. Like
Mm-hmm.
sunlight is my thing. Um, Second thing is music. And I like to put on some music that just gets me. Like there's, you know how we have some of those songs in our playlist that like it doesn't matter what kind of mood we're in. We're like, that song's on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dancing or singing along or something, like bringing on
Mm-hmm.
those songs that like actually just like can't
Get you
and
going.
I love this song, I love this song, like those types of things. I used to actually go on drives and just put on music that would just be, I'd be like singing like Beyonce, like Destiny's Child, Survivor, like
Yeah.
super loud. You know, like, things like that, like those are my like thing where I'm like shift, and then I'm
Yeah.
like good.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Those are
Yeah.
my
Awesome. Yeah. I definitely love music too. I feel like when all else fails, just dance, just like get moving,
for real.
take it out. Yeah. It's a powerful one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank
Well,
you
thank
so
you
much
for
for this.
thank
Yeah. It's such
yeah.
a large field too. I feel like we need to do another episode on other different tangents, but I feel like this is a lot of really great information for people to start using right away. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for taking this time. And
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.